Shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rekah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, blessing, and safety to all the Akim out there pushing the truth throughout the four corners of the earth, and to the sincere believers out there. This is the brother Habadia from the GMS Toronto camp coming back at you with another one. And this video is just gonna be based off of a little dream I had last night. Nothing big, nothing crazy, but I remember some of it. And I remember waking up thinking, I wanted to do a little video on it, and you know, leading up into me having this dream. I've been, watching a lot of those, end of the world type of movies. Uh, the woman I'm with, has never really seen a lot of these movies, so I've been kind of like putting her on, just trying to get her in that mindset that these are the times that we're coming into. We're not coming into a time of peace. We're coming into a time of chaos and judgment, ultimately. So we had watched Leave the World Behind a few weeks ago. We watched Greenland. Last week, the first one, the second one, I think came out last week too. I'm gonna watch that one too. And yesterday we had watched Civil War, and the dream that I had yesterday, it reminded me of Civil War because there was a lot of police on the street. There was a lot of rioting. You know, um, certain parts were fenced off. And these are all things that you see in all these movies. From Greenland to Civil War, Leave the World Behind. These are all little things that you see. I just remember in the dream, I had my seed, and I don't know where we were, but I remember seeing him. It seemed like in the dream we weren't together. We were like separated. Like he was on the other side of the fence, and I was on another side of the fence, and I just was trying to get to him. And I remember getting him, and then eventually, uh, I'm in a car, and then just driving, and I believe, I was trying to drive back home to get things because, it just felt like I was on the run. It just felt like I was on the run. Like it had to keep moving. It was time to go. It was time to go. And the authorities the authorities are after me. They're trying to get me, and I'm trying to outrun these authorities. And I just remember being in the whip driving, and just cars just chasing me, um and trying to ultimately get a hold of me. And another part that stood out to the dream was, I was driving through a part of town, and it was calm, it was quiet. And that reminded me of that part in Civil War when the reporters drive to the town to to go to that clothing store to try on, um you know to look at clothing and shit. And the reporter says to the lady at the front, like, do you know what's going on out there? There's a civil war. And the lady just said, it's none of our business. As long as we stay out of it, it's not gonna it's not gonna it's not gonna what's the word I'm looking for? We're not gonna get involved into it. you know so I remember in the dream, driving through a certain part of the city, and it was calm. As if there was no chaos, or the chaos maybe hadn't reached to that point. I don't know, but I just remember it was just calm, it was quiet. And then once I got out of that town and went into a new part of the city, it was chaos again. Like the police defend cities. And in my head, I'm thinking, in the dream, thinking, this is Jacob's trouble. This is that martial law. This is that second Ezra 15. Man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. So, this is what I seen in the dream. It was short, it wasn't long. It was almost as if it was, you know, you fast forwarding like something. It wasn't like something that felt drawn out like a movie. Like just at one point I was at one part, another part I'm in a car driving, go through that town, and I go through another town and it's like blocked off, like police everywhere. And all I can remember is, they're trying to, get me. And these are the times that we're coming into ultimately. We're coming into the time of Jacob's trouble, coming to the time of civil war, civil unrest, and then these things are norm. We see what happened over there in Minneapolis yesterday, with all the rioting and someone being, shot and killed. So, these are the times that we're coming into. So this is Second Ezra, chapter 15, starting at verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And that's the part that stand out to me the most in the dream is, I wasn't able to move like how you are now. You know, Police had the place locked down. You know, there's police. There's police all over the place. Whether it was police or troops, I can't remember, but they were out there. They're out there in the streets. And all I could just remember is like, I'm trying to, I'm trying to get away from these people. Like I ain't trying to let these guys capture me. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And men shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. So that's the time that we're coming into. People are going to be looting each other's cribs. People are not going to care for what the authorities have to say. You know, it's going to be, everyone against everybody, everyone for themselves. Survival of the fittest. You know, this is what's gonna happen, because things are gonna get crazy. Things are gonna get crazy. Things are gonna get wild, and while everyone else is bugging out. And that's the thing. Like it's crazy because sometimes you have these dreams and it's like you're dreaming, but within the dream, like you understand what's going on. You understand you know through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yashai that this is Jacob's trouble. you know Whereas a lot of people will have certain type of dreams and things like this, or visions, and they just won't get it. you know they won't know. They don't understand that this is the time that we're coming into. This is the time that the prophets have been warning you about this thing. And another thing I noticed about the dream is everything just seems suddenly. you know like it was just outside, and then suddenly you just see just all these cops come out of nowhere. Suddenly, the fences were up. You know, like there's no preparation. It just came. It just came like that. You know, and it's gonna catch people off guard. It's gonna catch people off guard because a lot of people ain't watching. They're not prepared for the time of Jacob's trouble. They're not prepared for that great tribulation, that hour of temptation. They're not ready for that. You know, but us of the hopeful elect, you know, we're getting our mind, we're getting our spirit ready for this time that we're coming into. And that's why I find myself now, rewatching these certain Hollywood movies and shit. It just puts your spirit in a certain mode. You know, and it's great because these things gotta happen. Jacob's trouble has to happen. Martial law is gonna happen. It says Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, For the devil has come down onto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And that's how this devil was moving in this vision. You know, they're coming out the woodworks. You know, they had a job and they were trying to do it, and you know that's how it's gonna happen. You know, just like these people are just things are gonna happen, and things are gonna speed up very quickly. You know, and we're gonna have to, you know, it's only through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai that we're gonna know how to maneuver through these times that are coming. You know, and like it's a, you know, it's a scary situation because we don't know where we're gonna be when these things pop off. We don't know where our family's gonna be, where our children's gonna be. You know, that's why, you know, Yahweh Bashim Shai is gonna have to guide our steps. He's gonna have to guide us. You know, guide us and keep us protected. You know, because the devil's gonna come down having great wrath because he knows that he has a short time. You know, he knows he doesn't have a lot of time to set up what he's trying. He does, to, you know, to set up his order, this new world order. You know, his agenda 2030. He doesn't know. He knows he doesn't have a lot of time. So things are gonna speed up. Things are gonna come out of nowhere. Certain things are gonna catch a lot of people off guard. And when people are caught off guard, they're easy to manipulate. They're easy to you know, you can control the narrative. The narrative. You can make them think what you want them to think. But that's why we have these scriptures. We have this word. We have Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and through him we gain that understanding. You know, so that even when the devil, you know, starts pulling, you know, his bullshit, you know, we're not caught off guard. We're ready. We stay ready. You know, we're ready. We're ready. We're spiritually preparing ourselves for the harsh and tough times that are to come. This is First Thessalonians 5:1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord cometh. The day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. Yeah, so it's going to come. It's going to be unexpectedly, and it's going to be unexpectedly for those who are not on that watch, who are not watching, who are not paying attention to the signs and the things that are happening. You know, people think that this is just a storm that's just gonna, you know, these events are just gonna pass, you know, and everything's gonna get good again. You know, the economy is gonna get better, and you know, we'll, you know, build back America, you know, and everything's gonna be good. But no, you know, Esau's time is running up. His fucking time is running up, you know, and it's good, you know, because we're tired of it. We're tired of this devil, you know. We're tired of his corruption, his pollution, you know, his manipulation. We're tired of him, you know, and that's why Yahweh Shai is going to come as a thief in the night and to catch a lot of these Jakes off guard, you know. Jake too caught up in everything else and not in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. You know, we're telling you that the martial law is going to, and starting off with our apostles, right, elders, they've been prophesying about this stuff before it was even front page news. You know, and now the fact that it's front page news, you can't deny it. You know it's gonna happen. You like, how can you deny it? How can you not see that martial law is gonna is not down the line? You know, how can you not see that? Um, you know, like cities are gonna be blocked off. You're not gonna be able to move how you want to move to. There's gonna be checkpoints all over the place. You have that chip? Oh, you don't have that chip? You can't get past that checkpoint. Oh, you don't have that chip? Well, you know, come get it. Then you can move on. You know, these are the times that we're coming into. You know, a time of great judgment, time of sorrows. You know, pain, but also, you know, we're, you know, all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahshua. You know, we're coming into a time of salvation for us of the hopeful elect. You know, even yesterday at camp, you know, the brothers they're just, talking about, the kingdom, and how certain things may, how we imagine how it's gonna be, and the garments and the crowns, and the way of trade and the money system. Like, man, when you think about these things, you just feel good. You just feel good because you're like, man, Lord will can be a part of that. Can be a part of that governing body that's gonna set up the way of righteousness forever. Because this place is through. This place is fucking through. These people are through. They're wicked. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord shall cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, when sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So this thing is gonna come out of nowhere. This devil is trying to show a narrative where, everything's gonna get back. It's not. Things ain't getting back to normal. No peace is coming. These nations are tired of America. You know, nothing but war is coming. World War III is gonna happen. You know, the sighting of these troops out there on the street is gonna be more frequent. Certain events are gonna happen that are gonna flip everything upside down. This shit in Minneapolis is small. That shit's on a small scale at the end of the day. Yeah, we're gonna bring it out. Yeah, we're gonna make videos on it, link it up to the scriptures, of course. But you know, things have to get flip upside down, where it forces this devil to do, drastic things. Just like what he did in 2020 and 2021. You know, that's the times we're coming into. Something big gotta happen. You know, where this devil just says, "Fuck it," pushes his martial law, pushes his chip. The devil's wasting time, man. Verse 4, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief in the night. Yeah, we're not in darkness. When these things start to happen, we understand why it is happening. We expect it to happen. We don't know how we're gonna maneuver when these things happen. I don't know. We don't know, like I said, we don't know where we're gonna be, but that's why we trust in Yahweh Shemi Oshai. That's all we can do. With the technology that Esau has, we ain't got that shit in our back. We don't got that shit in our crib. We don't have that type of thing we don't have that type of technology to outsmart Esau for what he has. But the only thing we do have is Yahweh Shemi Oshai, the ultimate power. And through him, anything is possible. And that's all we have. That's all we have to fall back on. Matthew 24 and 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor shall ever be. And except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Yeah, because this devil wants to take everybody out. If it was up to him, we'd just have a bunch of Edomites on this damn planet, But for the elect's sake, the Lord is gonna, put a monkey wrench in his plan, and shorten down, his time. His time to set up his new world order for the elect's sake, so the elect could be delivered out of this, so the elect could be saved, so the elect could be spared. Because this man wants everyone shipped. This man wants everyone under his control. This man wants you to own nothing and be happy. Be happy with just that shit. Be happy with going to Esau for everything, for all your answers. Esau tries to use fear and manipulation to control what he wants people to do. But we fear the ultimate power. We fear the power that controls both left and right. So we ain't scared of fucking Esau. We ain't scared of what he's got planned. Because we know Yahweh Shem Shai is the ultimate, he's the one in power. And he's the one controlling everything. Everything has to go through him. Isaiah 33:6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and the strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, is his treasure. And this wisdom, knowledge, and this wisdom and knowledge is what's going to keep us stable, for when we're on the run. When we got to sneak around. When Jacob's trouble is at its height. When everyone is tried with that hour of temptation. When our families turn on us, our women, our children, fucking neighbor next door. This is wisdom and knowledge that is going to keep us grounded and not be moved, not be manipulated, to not be controlled, to not bump us off on that path to righteousness, to obtain that crown. And as it says, this knowledge and wisdom is treasure. This is what's gonna get us past what we're about to come up against. Each brother's gonna have to go through we're gonna have to go through some crazy shit. Some of us are gonna die. Some of us are gonna have to sacrifice our life unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And we understand that. But it's that fear. We fear the ultimate power. We fear we fear the power that is controlling everything. So that was just a little dream I had. I don't really have them too often. But when I do, I try try to bring out a lesson on it. Because it's the Lord just getting our spirit ready for what's about to go down. 2026 has been a hell of a year already. And we're not even in February yet. So Yahweh Shem Shai is getting his men ready, for what's to come. And Lord willing, things speed up and happen at a rapid pace. Because that just points that all of that is just gonna point to salvation and point to Yahweh Shai, finally returning, and us of the hopeful elect getting out of here. So that's going to do it for this lesson. I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, and peace, blessing, and safety to all the Akim, all that pushing this truth throughout the four corners of the earth. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until the next one, Shalom.